Hello everyone, welcome to ENC Exam and Careers. Myself Saurabh, currently working as IBPS PO from batch 2023. Today we are going to start a series of how the recruitment process goes, when to apply, what are the exams that goes regularly, and I'll be explaining which exams should be preparing, what will be the syllabus, what should be the common part, how you should select your examinations, and how you should start your preparation. So this is a guide for complete beginners who has no idea how to get into banking in India. This will be, I would say, this will be a one-stop solution to choose which exam you want to attempt for. So I will be discussing a few, what we can say, I will be discussing few exams, what are the recruitment boards, what is the process and everything. So without any further ado, let's start. As you can see, we will be discussing about the recruitment process. The common terminology we will be seeing here, the RRBs, that is Regional Rural Bank. We will be seeing on how would you get into banking in India. So what is the entry points we have for banking, or what are the what are the recruitment process go through the banking. So we'll briefly looking into it. The first one comes is RRB, that is Regional Rural Bank. These banks are the they come under NABARD. They are the kind of subsidiary of the actual public sector banks, and these are mainly located in rural areas which have been developed. These banks have been come into picture for the development of the rural area. Okay, that's why they are regional rural banks. Most of the branches are in one state itself. They are not branches outside the state for regional rural banks. Okay, every state has at least one or two regional rural banks. Okay, coming up next, PSB, public sector banks. Now, what are the public sector banks? The banks in which government has a stake of more than 50%. Those are public sector banks. This is the list of public sector banks. Total, yeah. Then it comes SBI. SBI conducts its recruitment, is a separate recruitment process. Then you go regulatory bodies. The regulatory bodies are the governing bodies of these institutions, like for example RBI, NABARD, IRDA, SEBI. Then there comes private banks and the insurance sector. These are the common entry points for in to enter in banking. Okay, we will be looking. So what are the entry points if we see? So there are three entry points. One is clerk, second is PO, probationary officer, and third is SO, that is specialist officer. Clerk is a junior level of PO. Probationary officer can also be called as assistant manager, scale 1. The next promotion for PO is scale 2, manager. Now what is specialist officer, SO? So specialist officers are the officers which have been for specialized field like IT, HR, law officer. These are specialist officers. The recruitment criteria is, eligibility criteria is very different from others. The recruitment process might be similar, but it is very different. It is different as well. Okay. So when you look at RRB plus public sector banks, the recruitment process is conducted by IBPS. What is IBPS? Institute of Banking Personnel Selection. The website is ibps.in. You can go there and check the notifications. So it conducts every year. It's conducting every year the recruitments of clerks, officer, and specialist officer. RRBs, every state has 1 or 2 RRBs, and the public sector banks except SBI. SBI has its own conductor of exams every year. Just like I said, SBI conducts its own clerical officer and specialist officer specialist officer every year. Next we go for regulatory bodies. Now regulatory bodies entry points are 2 entry points we have for regulatory bodies. Just a sec. So we have two entry points for regulatory bodies. The one is assistant, that is like a clerk, and the second is grade A or grade B officer. That's officer cadre. Then we have private banks. The private banks mostly hire on relationship development manager. These are mostly officer posts. The recruitment process is very different from IBPS and SBI. We'll be discussing that later as well. Now insurance sector. Insurance sector, again, there is first post called as assistant, second post is in LIC it is called as AAO, administrative officer. The insurance sector also carries out AAOs and all. Out of these, IBPS and SBI conducts every year. The regulatory body, the officer post, like Alpha, if you take RBI grade B is an officer cadre post, which is like, the recruitment for this officer post comes every year, but for the assistant, regulatory body assistant and other regulatory bodies except RBI, the recruitments are quite less. We can't actually judge when it will come. When it comes, the news does come. The news does come around. You just get to know about the news, but we are not quite sure when it will arrive. Now, when you talk about private banks, now private banks conduct their own recruitment drive. How the recruitment drive goes? They take one exam, preliminary exam, and they take an interview. After that, after a selection, they will send you to complete your postgraduate diploma in banking and finance. That's what we call PGDM. After completion of your PGDM, they will take you into the job roles. Okay. This and insurance sector. The assistant post comes around in every 2 to 3 years. It does comes. And officer is LIC is regular for the officers, but other insurance bodies they are not that regular in recruiting every year. We can't say every year there will be We can't say that every year there will be recruitments. Now we will be looking at syllabus which is required for this exam. The first thing, there are basically 4 major subjects, as you can see. First is English, second is quantitative aptitude, third is reasoning, and fourth is current affairs. If you complete these 4 subjects overall, if you complete it, then what are the exams you can give? You can give IBPS, RRB, and public sector banks all. RRB, clerk, PO, and public sector banks also, clerk, PO, SO, the exams that are conducted by IBPS. Now when you talk about SBI, yes, you can give the SBI as well, SBI exams as well. Then next, regulatory bodies. You can go from this preparation, you can go for the phase 1 or the preliminary examination. But for phase 2 in regulatory bodies, the subjects are quite different. There are different subjects for the phase 2. So, but from this we can rely on at least we can complete with the pre. Then when you talk about insurance sector you can pre and mains, I guess, yes, pre and mains both you can be a very you can compete with this knowledge as well. In some insurance sectors there is extra subject called as insurance literacy, or what you can say, insurance literacy. So particular section will be completely on insurance knowledge, but otherwise these 4 subjects are remain common. Now when you talk about these 4 subjects, what does come to pre and mains? Yes. Now when you talk English, quant, reasoning, these are consisting of pre, that is preliminary exam. The first phase, the first exam we go for the recruitment drive is pre. Some people are shortlisted from pre to mains. Now preliminary exam is just qualifying in nature, which means the score scored in preliminary exam will not be considered for your final recruitment. If final recruitment will be based on mains exam, if there is no interview, and if there is an interview, there will be mains plus interview. This is a pre. English, quant, reasoning, it just comes for pre, and when we are at current affairs, it's go for mains. Now the mains, we can see what mains it covers. It covers all clerical POs for RRB, public sector banks, and SBI as well. So what to study, what not to study, how do we start our study? We'll be discussing that in our next video, which will be coming in few days. Thank you.